Hi friends, my name is Angie and I want to start a big knitting project and I can't. And the reason I can't is because I feel immense guilt in my heart because I currently have like 4 or 5 projects on the needles right now and I don't feel like I can start something big without finishing these first. So in a very anticlimactic way, we're not doing the big project in this video. Instead, we're gonna finally finish up the small projects that we've been working on. And you know, this is content, this is entertainment, and more than anything, this is holding me accountable. The problem that I've had with all of these different projects is that I'm like so close to finishing all of them, and then instead of just like committing, I start something new. And some would say this is an effective undiagnosed ADHD. Others would say, you're not diagnosed officially, so stop claiming something that's not yours. And to that I say, I'm just trying to finish some projects. So as a quick roundup of like the projects that we're working on, we have this tank top. This is called the Sydney Scoop back top by, I believe, a designer called Made by Rashi. I'm gonna include everyone's information in the description below, but I got this pattern by my friend. They created like a knitting kit for me for my birthday and it was really cool and it was really sweet. And I've made the top, but I want to make some minor adjustments. So to talk about those minor adjustments, I think it makes the most sense to try it on. And I realized I'm not wearing the appropriate clothes to try this shit on. So give me like 2 seconds. So there's nothing wrong with it objectively, like it fits fine, it looks fine, but I can feel it that there's like a potential for the strap to fall off of a shoulder. And like some would argue like this is kind of a sexy moment, this could be like on purpose, but I don't want that to happen. And I know that the more I wear this, the more like stretched out it will become. So if it's just fine now, after a couple of wears and after a couple of washes, it's going to be like really loose. And so to kind of nip that in the bud, I want to do I-cord edging across the armholes, the neckline, the back, whatever. So that's project 1. The second project is another Sydney Scoop back top. This is one that's still actively on the needles and I'm too lazy to find a longer set of cables. But this Sydney Scoop is made with a lighter weight yarn. I believe it's either fingering or sport weight. I'm actually not too sure and I don't care to find out. I can tell you, I'm using the Hobby Friends Cotton 6/8. So whatever yarn weight that is, that's what we're using. Also, slight disclaimer, I got this from Hobby before they became Pro AI, so like, don't come for me. But this is, you know, working up quite nicely. I've done all of the increases, decreases, straps, etc, etc. So all I'm really working on is just like the stockinette to get the length to where I need it to go. The next project is one that is almost finished as well. We can try this one on because it's not on any needles. This is the Nenina top by La Pole. This is basically done. I just have to do the strap for it, which is super easy in theory because it's just an I-cord and I really like doing I-cord cords. I just haven't really gotten around to it. So, and I don't know if it's going to make a difference, but I am considering like blocking it again just to see if I could get a little bit more stretch out of it. Like I really don't think anything is going to happen. I think we've stretched her to the capacity that she can be stretched, but like, you know, a guy can try. And then our final project has been kind of my like go to bed project. It's the one that sits on my nightstand and I'll like do a few rows until I get really sleepy and then I'll like put it away. And that is this little guy right here. This is going to be the Summer Poncho by Ava Paula, and it's going to be really great. We're using some Noro yarn. I believe it's the Kakagori, and I don't remember what the color is called, but I'll put it on the screen if I remember. Oh, hello. And it's just gonna be this really easy breezy, like meshy kind of summer poncho that you can just throw on over a tank top and like call it a day. Also, as an aside, we're using Wool and the Gang Shiny Happy Cotton for this project. And for reference, for the Nina top, we used the Lana Grossa Eco Puno yarn, and the strap is going to be this red color. So now you're all caught up, and now we can get right into these projects. It's the same day, if that's not obvious. I just finished having my lunch break and I figured I'd pop on here really quick to give you a small minor update. I got a worm. And by worm, I mean this little guy. This is going to be the strap for the Nenina top. I believe the pattern calls for 81 centimeters of this, which I'm gonna be totally honest with you, I can't even fathom. Like, I don't know what that's like, but it sounds like a lot. So I figured it would be entertaining and like worthwhile content to figure out what 81 centimeters looks like and how much this is and how much I have to go. So we got our handy dandy little measuring tape and we just gotta keep going and going until we make it to 81. It doesn't even fit in the camera. That's so crazy. That feels slightly daunting. And especially because we are at a healthy 18 and a half centimeters. So from all of this, we're right here. So that kind of stinks. But, and also, it took me about an hour to get this far. And mind you, I was taking a lot of breaks. And so that means it'll take me another like 3.5 hours to actually finish it. And so like that sounds like a lot, but it is doable. Hi friends. Can you believe it took me an entire weekend to do one strap? Yeah, me neither. But we finished the Nenina top. I was feeling really unsure about it yesterday when I tried it on, especially in comparing it to the other project photos. And then I realized everyone on Ravelry is like a size 4 and under. And like pretty design, funky design aside, I do think this pattern does struggle with size inclusivity. I don't know what this designer put into making the larger sizes, but it does feel like they just increased cast on stitches without like accommodating like different body shapes. It's nothing that I can't fix, but it's also like I shouldn't have to be putting in the effort to fix it anyways, you feel me? So one of those things, if I wanted to go back and fix things, I would probably work to make the body longer and like taller to like properly cover the chestal area, especially because I know as someone who's not a size 2 that like the more a fabric has to stretch this way, the shorter it is this way. And so like that's something that I would like accommodate if I were to make this top again in the future. I don't know if I will, because it is again a cute, cool, funky top. It is also a little bit like out of my wheelhouse. Like I don't typically wear tops that are like this. And I think that's one of the reasons why I was intrigued by it, because it was so different and so out of my comfort zone, but like, and because it's so out of my comfort zone, I don't know how often I'm going to be like reaching for it. The other thing is I need to adjust the straps. In the like sample photos, this little bit here is like snug against everyone's neck. And I think because of my chest, it's like pulling down. So in order to make it sit where it's supposed to sit, I have to take away like a centimeter on each side. And then that way it'll be like a little bit more taut so that it actually can like hold everything up. So that's the first update. We got one win, but we also got some adjustments to make. I'm gonna get out of this though. I'm gonna go back into the like sundress that I was wearing, because that one has way more support in this area, and that's gonna make me feel a little bit better on camera. Okay, the girls are back where they're supposed to be. Second update is we have our first frog of the year and of the video. It's not that I'm giving up on this yarn, and it's not that I'm giving up on this pattern. After I blocked it, again, the front part of the top feels and looks fine. It's the back part that gives me a lot of issue. Like the type of cast on that I did to cast on the back panel is just like too loosey-goosey, and it's like gaping outwards, and I could like MacGyver it and like do an elastic band or do an I-cord edge or do whatever I said I was gonna do, or I could just take everything apart and do it right. And so I think we're gonna take it apart and do it right. I'm also considering doing a needle size smaller to like, again, ensure that things are gonna be structured and fitted. There's no harm in doing another swatch, so I might as well just do it. So goal for this afternoon is to frog this, do a new swatch, wash it, block it, dry it, and then get into this in a new big way. Third thing is we worked a little bit on the Sydney scoop. I don't know if you can really like see any difference. I did like 3 or 4 rows last night. This is still, you know, stockinette hell, baby. But I think I've mentioned this is my like travel project, so I take her with me everywhere. I take her with me to work. I take her with me to the movies, to lunch, to dinner, to coffee shops. Like, so although it doesn't look like I'm making a lot of progress in this, little by little I'm getting at it every day. And then the one with the most significant amount of progress, aside from like a finished top, is our poncho, baby. Look at this. We were like here last time. We're here obviously now. I'm putting stitch markers for every 20 rows just so I can keep track of like what I'm doing and where I'm at. I think the pattern calls for 130 rows. I think I'm gonna see where I'm at like 80, 100, because I feel like 130 is going to be like much too large, or rather much too long, and I don't want this to be like a draping like blanket poncho. I just want it to be like a flirty fun poncho that I can like throw on. It's about like 8 a.m. so I have like an hour before I have to clock into work. So I think what we're gonna do now is to frog the Sydney scoop, get her ready for this afternoon. And while we're using my freaking yarn winder, I'm also going to cake up some other yarn, specifically her. This is the companion yarn from Savannah Rose Handmade. I have big plans to make this into a Vivian cardigan. I haven't started yet, obviously, because I haven't wanted to like set up the Swift and do the whole thing, because by the way, I have a Swift now. My sister bought me one for my birthday. But if I'm already using the winder for one thing, I might as well just like commit to the bit and do it for everything. So I think that's our plan for this morning. Enjoy the footage. Look at those colors. Wow. Ooh, that wasn't a good noise. I have had a really busy week and it's only Wednesday, and I think that really stinks. First update, we fixed the Nenina top. I thought this was gonna be like 15-minute, 30-minute fix, and it ended up being like a really sweaty, exhausting ordeal, because I would like pull some of the strap back, I would have to change and try it on and then measure it and then take it off and then fix it and then try it on and all of that. So it ended up being a lot of work. And in fact, I ended up doing so many like little tuck-ins that it was getting really bulky in the back. So I actually took apart the end of the strap and I unraveled about like 3 or 4 inches of it. And now it fits more like the photo. Like this is like taut enough that it's holding the girls up. This is sitting right against my neck as imagined, as dreamed, and successfully we've done it. And now it's looking good. It's still very much out of my wheelhouse as far as like style and fit goes, but you know, Uranus and Gemini, baby, we're trying new things. We're trying something different. So that's the major update. We can like officially count that as a win. Our second almost win is the lilac Sydney scoop. We're so freaking close. This is where it's sitting at right now. And my goal for this project is to make it as long as it needs to be so that we finish this last ball of yarn. And it's not because I'm running out of this yarn. I actually have like 2 balls left, but like, what's the point of starting a whole new ball just for like 1 or 2 rows, you know? And then finally, we have another exciting update. As you may or may not have seen in the B-roll footage, we frogged all of the yellow Sydney scoop. That was a whole other ordeal because I didn't know how to work the yarn Swift. It didn't come with any instructions, and so I just did my regular stick my pom-pom-pourine in this chair, strap him in with a skein, and just like spin him around for a little bit. And that was working out well until my winder started making a funky noise. And like, it usually squeaks, and I find that to be like a relatively normal thing for a thingy, but it started making like a cracking noise as I was turning the thing, and so that was scary. I don't know if it was because of like the yarn weight, because the yarn that I was winding was this really thick worsted cotton, and then the companion yarn that I showed earlier is also worsted weight. So I don't know if it's just like that affecting the winder, but like I've never experienced that before. So I managed to wind these balls into cakes, but for the companion yarn, the winder was acting so unruly that I had to hand wind them. And it took forever. Oh my God, what agony. And now that I'm saying this out loud, that's why my arms are sore. But either way, we blocked our swatch, we started our panels, and we finished our front panel, we did our 2 straps, and now we've connected everything so that we can continue the front panel. And eventually we'll get to a point where we connect it to the back, and then we're just working in the round. And so I think aside from finishing the first Sydney scoop, my second goal for tonight is to get this in the round. And I think I can do that really easily because this yarn is so much thicker that it works up so much faster. My hair is looking kind of crazy today, and I really have to figure that out because I have to have dinner with my coworkers tonight. And but we got some updates, and I'm really excited about them. Before we get into like the knitting updates, let me give you a shoe update, because I got these shoes and they're like really funky and they're really fun, and I'm always down for a funky fun shoe. But most importantly, they were free. I got these from my coworker, who is like a Gemini of all Geminis. Like, she talks like a Gemini, she thinks like a Gemini, she dresses like a Gemini. She's the most Gemini I've ever met. And because I have a Gemini rising, there's a lot of alignment in the way that we think and in the way that we like dress and present ourselves. And so like, since I started working at this job, she will come up to me and be like, hey, like, this is so random, but I was browsing on a website and I saw these bed sheets and they feel like very much your vibe. And then she'll show me a picture and I'll be like, I have those bed sheets. So whenever she's getting rid of like shoes or bags or whatever, she always gives me a first pass to see if I like any. So in the past, I've gotten flats from her and boots from her. This time she gave me these little like dress shoes, which are like really funky and fresh. Admittedly, they are kind of a lot, but a lot in a kind of funky, fresh way. So let's talk about the knitting, because ba-ching, cha-chung, cha-chung, we finished our Sydney scoop. I haven't washed it or blocked it, so that's why it's kind of rolling it at the ends right here. I'm hoping once I block it, it'll sit a little bit more flat like this. But aside from that, it's looking pretty good. And I'm really freaking pleased with it. It's not as long as I originally intended. And yes, I could have broken open one of my skeins and like made it longer, but 2 things prevented me from doing that. One, as we discussed, didn't feel like using like a third or like a quarter of a ball of yarn just for this top and then have like an insufficient amount of yarn for another project. And 2, I really just wanted to finish this project. I really just needed this win. And so we went ahead and did it. Although I didn't want it to be this cropped, I think it works out because most of my pants hit me here anyways. So like, instead of like meeting directly where the pants start, there's a sexy little show of skin, just so everyone is aware that I have skin. So the plan for this morning is to wash this, block this, let it sit, let it dry. And then we also made significant progress on the second Sydney scoop. Here she is. We were able to join the pattern in the round, as you can see here. Now we're just working on decreases and we're just going straight through until it's done, until it's over. And this is actually the perfect moment for this project to be in, because as I mentioned, I'm going out to dinner with my coworkers tonight, which means that I'm going into the city, which means I will be on a train for a total of 2-ish hours. And not only will I be on a train for about 2 hours, we're also gonna go see a show. We're gonna go see the show Becky Shaw. Don't really know what it's about. not really into theater in that way, but I do know that show has a 15-20 minute intermission. And guess what I'm going to be working on in those 15 minutes? Hello? I'm really hoping that the accumulation of those 2.5-ish hours is going to be enough for this project to be done. But if not, we're going to make it work. We did it. I really wanted to finish this top last night. That didn't happen, but I literally just took it off the needles. Has not been washed, has not been blocked, but we freaking did it. So we have successfully achieved our goal of finishing 3 projects in 1 week. Would I have loved to have finished the poncho too? Yeah, for sure. But that is such an endeavor, and I am still going to be working on it, like on and off on the sidelines, but you know, this video's over. We freaking did it. Before I let you go, let me tell you about last night. It wasn't bad, but it also wasn't like good either, because the people on my team specifically, and this was a field trip for my team specifically, are a lot older than me. And whenever I have to like go out in the world with them, I do often feel like a little duckling, just like trailing behind all of these big adults who are talking about their like mortgages and their kids and like the way things were when they grew up. And then inevitably the conversation steers towards like the current generation of like young adults and how they always be on that phone and how they have anxiety and no one understands why. And I just feel like when the conversation goes there, there's like a spotlight on me. And so it's always like a mental exercise, a mental journey when I have to do like out of work things with this particular team. The other thing that wasn't good nor bad was the play that we saw. By the time I post this, I think the show is still going to be running. So if you are in the tri-state area and you're interested in Becky Shaw, this is my unofficial review. I thought it was fine. If you like a play about rich white people drama, this is the play for you. There were some bits that were funny. There were some bits that weren't. There's a lot of bits that weren't. The guy that was in the pit is in this play. I liked his character the most, and it's no surprise that his character is the working class artist white guy. And the last thing I'll say about this play, especially if you're meaning to watch this play with the company of your older coworkers, or perhaps like a more conservative traditional audience, you know, like if you're taking your grandma, if you're taking your mom's, and she's like a little bit more of a sheltered lady. And I'm saying this very specifically because one of my coworkers, she's not like hashtag conservative, but she is like hashtag like low-key traditional. And like the extent of her like media experience is like the Turner Classic Movie Channel. Like she's like really deep in that sauce, and the things that she watches are pretty PG and shit like that. I'm saying all of this because in the first 15 minutes of the play, one of the girlies gets fingered, and obviously is acting, it's stage fingering. I do believe it goes on for like 45 seconds too long. Like they could have shut down the lights as soon as the hand went up the skirt. Like, buddy, we knew what was going on there. And no, they just like kept going. And she did nut. I did have to sit next to this coworker as that happened. And as far as they knew, like I booked the tickets, so they thought that I like knew about the play, and all I really knew was that the guy in the pit was in it, and that one of my other coworkers like said that it got good reviews, and I was like, good enough for me. And so like when that was happening on stage, the silence that fell across the row of coworkers was palpable. It was a lot. And I was like, God, please do not let this be a sexy play. Huge relief that that wasn't the fact, but just know going into it that does happen. So if you're taking grandma, I don't know, like send her to the bathroom, or, you know, like talk about it after the play, like whatever works for you, whatever makes sense for your relationship with your grandma. And so on that note, Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day. I hope all of your projects are going well. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.